Good afternoon, everyone. I will be calling the case of the United States versus Julian Assange. Is the prosecution ready to begin?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
We may now hear the opening statements. Prosecution, you may begin.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Alex Seymour, and my co-counsel Lieta Sano and I are representing the government in the case of the United States government versus Julian Assange. Julian Assange, the founder of Wikileaks, has been charged with violating the Espionage Act of 1917. The evidence will show that Julian Assange has not only violated the Espionage Act of 1917, but has also tampered with the personal privacy of individuals by releasing things such as social security numbers, medical information, credit card numbers, and more. The evidence that will be presented will prove that Wikileaks, more specifically Julian Assange, is guilty of endangering the safety of the country by releasing confidential information. There is evidence to prove that Julian Assange had communication with Chelsea Manning, a convicted former United States military member who stole classified information from the military with the intent to expose United States overseas military operations. The most well-known part of the leak was the video Collateral Murder, which will be presented later in the trial. You will be hearing from one witness today. You will be hearing from Paul Rosenzweig, an expert witness. Paul Rosenzweig held a former position in the United States government and therefore has the knowledge that Julian Assange violated the Espionage Act of 1917. It is the duty of the government to ensure the nation's security, and by releasing confidential government information to the public, Julian Assange could have threatened the security of our nation and its citizens. Please find Julian Assange guilty of endangering the country by posting confidential documents and images. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. The defense may begin their opening statement.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Kim and my co-counsel Jordan Polk and I are representing Wikileaks and Julian Assange in the case of the United States government versus Julian Assange. The facts and evidence that will be shown will prove that Julian Assange, the editor-in-chief of Wikileaks, was wrongfully accused and is not in violation of breaching the Espionage Act of 1917. Julian Assange is from Townsville, Australia. As a child, Assange moved around a lot, rarely staying in one place for a long period of time. At 8 years old, Assange's parents divorced. Later in life, when Assange was 18, he became a father and experienced going through custody battles soon after. Today you will learn that while Assange may not be perfect, he has always and continues to fight for what is right. Wikileaks and Assange are both protected by the First Amendment right of freedom of speech and press, which was the winning argument in the former case of the United States versus the New York Times. Therefore, Wikileaks and Assange have the right to publish information for the public's knowledge. Our client, Julian Assange, does not have anything personal to gain by releasing this information. Rather, he has more to lose by putting himself at risk for the greater good of the United States and its citizens. We will be hearing from two witnesses today, Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning. Please find Julian Assange not guilty of endangering the country by practicing his First Amendment right. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. The prosecution may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The prosecution would like to call to the stand Paul Rosenzweig, a former United States Homeland Security official.
Will the witness please stand to be sworn in? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated.
Please state your name to the court.
Paul Rosenzweig.
What role did you hold during your time in the United States government?
I served in the Department of Homeland Security under President George W. Bush as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy.
What did you do during your time as Deputy Secretary for Policy?
During my time as a Deputy Secretary for Policy, I assisted the Secretary of State in the formulation and conduct of foreign policy in the United States and generalized supervision of the department.
In your expert opinion, do you believe that Wikileaks and Julian Assange violated the Espionage Act?
Objection, Your Honor. It's substantially more prejudice than probative.
On what basis?
Due to Mr. Rosenzweig's former relation to the government.
Sustained.
In short, what is the Espionage Act?
The Espionage Act essentially makes it a crime for any person to convey information intended to interfere with the United States Armed Forces, war effort, or to promote the success of the country's enemy.
How is Wikileaks in violation of the Espionage Act?
Wikileaks violated the Espionage Act because it aided the enemies of the United States by sharing military information that was not intended to be made public, and the publication of this private information interferes with the military work being done.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
The defense may now cross-examine the witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you currently hold a position in the United States government?
No.
Is there a reason why you no longer work for the government?
Yes.
This reason being that you leaked classified government information?
Yes.
As a result, you were fired.
Yes.
Did you mean to leak this information?
No.
Isn't your area of expertise cybersecurity and homeland security?
Yes, that is correct.
As an expert in cybersecurity, would you say that the PGP encryption you use to communicate government information to a colleague is the best safeguard in ensuring cyber privacy?
Yes, it is a good safeguard.
A good safeguard, not the best safeguard?
Well, no. I guess there are better methods of ensuring privacy in communication via email.
It didn't occur to you to implement these additional measures when dealing with such invaluable information?
No, I guess I should have given that more thought.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
You may step down. Does the prosecution have any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready with their case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense would like to call to the stand Julian Assange.
Will the witness please stand to be sworn in? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated.
Please state your name.
Julian Assange.
What is your role in regards to Wikileaks?
I'm the founder of Wikileaks and head editor-in-chief.
What is Wikileaks?
Wikileaks is a nonprofit news organization founded in 2006 that publishes materials that involve war, spying, and corruption.
How did you obtain the documents you published?
Documents in question were given to Wikileaks by Chelsea Manning, a former intelligence analyst in the United States Army.
How do you deal with personal classified information and classified information that the public needs to know?
We have a way of dealing with information that has a sort of personal information in it. But there are legitimate secrets, for example, records with your doctor, that is a legitimate secret, but we deal with whistleblowers that are cornering forward, that are really sort of well motivated.
So you did not steal the documents from the United States military?
No, WikiLeaks only published documents that were given to us by Manning. We did not steal the United States government.
Why did you publish the government information?
It was the right of an American citizen to be informed of what is happening with their country, and the right granted by the First Amendment allows us to share with these citizens what is going on.
Do you believe that leaking confidential United States documents to the people is helping them?
Yes, I do, because I believe that by bringing out classified information into the public domain and how human institutions actually behave, we can understand, frankly, to a degree, for the first time, the civilization that we actually have.
Do you think releasing this information to the public could hurt the safety of the United States?
No.
Do you think this information could benefit the United States? If yes, please explain.
Yes, I think the WikiLeaks is informative and gives the people a better idea of what is actually going on within the government.
Why is it important for the people to know about classified information?
I believe it is important because the government is always lying about what they do and how they do it. It's time that we stop all this propaganda and show the American people what is actually happening.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
The prosecution may now cross-examine the witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. You are the founder of WikiLeaks, correct?
Yes.
Did WikiLeaks publish classified government information?
Yes.
And these documents were given to you?
Yes, the information was provided via Chelsea Manning.
And do you consider yourself a journalist?
Yes, I do.
Do you know the definition of a journalist?
Yes, a journalist is a person who writes for newspapers, magazines, or news websites, or prepares news to be broadcast.
Is disclosing classified information considered being a journalist?
Well, actually, I consider myself an information activist.
A yes or no answer would suffice.
Then no.
By these means, then, you are not a journalist, is that correct?
Yes.
If you are not a journalist, do you believe that you should still have the right to disclose this information and be protected by the First Amendment in this sense?
Yes, because Wikileaks is a part of the press.
Is it true that you were found guilty for hacking in 1995?
Yes.
Is it true that you made an agreement to not reoffend so that you would not go to prison?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
On what basis?
Relevance. The prosecution is bringing up a previous case for which the witness has been excused.
Overruled.
Is it true that you were recently accused of sexual assault?
Objection, Your Honor.
On what basis?
Relevance.
Sustained.
Your past shows that you have not always taken the honest path. How can we be sure that you have not gone back on your word and dishonestly came across information on your site?
Objection, Your Honor.
On what basis?
Argumentative.
Sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions?
You may step down. Does the defense have any further witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, you may call your second witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense would like to call to the stand Chelsea Manning.
Will the witness please stand to be sworn in? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated.
Please state your name.
Chelsea Manning.
What was your role in the government?
I was a former intelligence analyst for the U.S. Army.
How long were you in the United States Army for?
I was in the United States Army for 3 years.
Did you intend to remain in the Army as a career for your life or temporarily?
I originally intended to remain in the Army and to make a career of it, but over time I began to change my mind and was contemplating leaving and finding another career path.
What was the reason for you leaving the United States Army?
I was dishonorably discharged after the release of the information I shared with Wikileaks.
What confidential military information did you share with Assange?
The information that was shared with Assange included the collateral murder video, which showed footage of Iraq citizens and Metro News staff being shot at by United States military soldiers from a helicopter, and logs of the Iraq and Afghan wars.
I move that the prosecution exhibit be marked on the record with an exhibit number.
You may proceed.
Here we have a video that shows the destruction of innocent lives done by the United States military. Have you seen the video Collateral Murder in question?
Yes.
Are these events in the recording accurate?
Yes.
How did you obtain this confidential information?
I illegally downloaded this information while at a military base outside of Baghdad.
Why did you steal and share this information?
I shared this information with Assange because the citizens of the United States and all others affected by the actions of the United States military deserve to know what is taking place in the military's overseas affairs. There was no intention of causing harm of the United States' safety, solely to spark debate about the role that the United States military plays in foreign policy.
Did you release this information with intentions of hurting the United States?
No, I did not.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
The prosecution may now cross-examine the witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. You were charged with multiple counts of disclosing and possessing classified information from the United States government in 2013 to Wikileaks?
Yes.
Would you consider yourself close to Assange?
No.
Would you consider yourself more so acquaintances with Assange?
Yes.
How did you come in contact with Julian Assange?
I first came in contact with Assange over messages.
Were you communicating with Julian Assange?
Yes.
Were these conversations about disclosing government information?
Somewhat.
I move that the prosecution exhibit be marked on the record with an exhibit number.
You may proceed.
Are you familiar with these messages?
Yes.
Here we have logs of message conversations made public between Assange and Manning between the 5th of May to the 18th of May, 2010. These logs show that Assange was more aware of Manning and her plans than let on, and that Manning and Assange had personal relationship beyond just disclosing information to Wikileaks. Would you agree that these messages were exchanged around that time?
Yes.
Were you the one writing these messages to Julian Assange?
Yes, I was on writing these messages.
Were these communications with Assange a regular practice of someone holding your position in the military?
No.
Did anyone you worked with during this time know of these communications?
No, I kept them private.
I move to have this record admitted into evidence.
You may continue.
These communications seem to show a relationship between two people that are more than just acquaintances. Would you agree?
Yes.
Was there a personal relationship between you and Assange that persuaded you into sharing this information with him to have it released rather than a different source or releasing it on your own?
No, I simply wanted the public to have access to information that shouldn't have been kept from them in the first place.
Therefore, you are saying that your idea to leak this information was not motivated by your relationship with Assange.
Correct. I was not motivated to share this information based on my relationship with Assange.
How much did you get paid while you were in the military?
Objection, Your Honor.
On what basis?
Relevance. What does her previous salary have to do with this case?
Sustained.
Did your lack of pay during your time in the military make you feel that your work was undervalued?
Yes, over time it made me feel unappreciated.
Do you believe that this was a leading force driving you to release this disclosed information?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions. The prosecution rests its case.
You may step down. Does the defense have any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor. The defense rests its case.
Are the prosecution and defense ready with final arguments?
Yes, Your Honor.
Both the prosecution and the defense have now rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Prosecution, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Today you have heard a former United States Homeland Security official speak about how Julian Assange and his disclosing of confidential United States government information violates the Espionage Act of 1917. You were presented today with documents that show that Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning would communicate with each other to go behind the government and expose secrets that potentially could have harmed the United States and its citizens. Furthermore, Julian Assange is not a journalist. Therefore, providing a website that circulates classified data is not reporting, and as such, Assange is exempt from any First Amendment protection that is exclusively reserved for the press. Thank you, Your Honor.
Defense, you may now present your closing argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. It is now time for me to address you on behalf of the defendant, Julian Assange, and his company Wikileaks. Today we heard about how Julian Assange did not violate the Espionage Act of 1917 because Assange did not seek out the classified military information, but was merely given this information by an outside source. And due to his position as the editor-in-chief of Wikileaks, he felt that it was his job to inform the public of this information to help them realize the government wrongdoings. Assange's course of action were not meant to harm the country's citizens, but to warn them of the secrets of the government and what they are not telling the public. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you to both the prosecution and the defense counsel. I will issue my verdict on the case of the United States versus Julian Assange and reconvene in 1 week on Tuesday, March 6, 2018.
Dun dun dun.
Unfortunately, not. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for reconvening for the case of the United States versus Julian Assange. I will now read to you the law that we followed in deciding the cases. To prove the crime charged against the defendant, the prosecution must have proved that 1. Julian Assange was guilty of breaching the Espionage Act of 1917, and 2. His actions were meant to harm the country and citizens. We unanimously came to a conclusion that the prosecution failed to prove the defendant beyond reasonable doubt is guilty of these crimes charged against him. We, the judicial panel of the case United States Government versus Julian Assange, find Julian Assange not guilty of the Espionage Act for exploiting military files to the United States citizens because this information is necessary for people to know what is occurring in our foreign affairs. Additionally, Assange did not steal this information, and WikiLeaks and Assange are both protected by the rights given for the First Amendment. This case is very similar to the United States government versus the New York Times, in which the New York Times was proven not guilty because of the First Amendment of freedom of speech. This is known as the Pentagon Papers, which is a newspaper article that advised the United States citizens about the propaganda used to bring the United States into the Vietnam War. They also talked about the gruesome acts done by the U.S. military. These cases have many parallels and ultimately just wanted the people to know the truth. We believe what happened in the video footage shown in WikiLeaks' website was horrific and inhumane. The video footage showed an American chopper gunning down dozens of civilians and injuring a couple of children. This type of acts will not be hidden from the public. We believe that WikiLeaks is an important news outlet that can provide factual evidence for the common American citizen. In this case, the prosecution failed to present enough evidence that WikiLeaks has anything to do with releasing Social Security, credit card numbers, or banking information. The judge panel does not see WikiLeaks bringing harm to the citizens of the United States, and therefore we, the judicial panel, do not find the plaintiff, Julian Assange, guilty. Case closed.
Paul, we said we were going back to back, remember?
No.
Last
How do we
Everything's been
prosecute
taken.
something?
Oh, you already did that. Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club.